Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Joan Gracie. I am the president of APA Solutions. We are a direct hire professional placement firm. We place everyone from entry to executive level, from low-tech to high-tech positions. What's really unusual about my particular recruiting firm is that the bulk of our employers interview in our facility. So just about every day, we have an employer come in from all walks of life, interview a group of people, and then they debrief with us. And they feel very comfortable sharing with us the secrets that they're very uncomfortable in sharing with you. All right, so this is going to be a really, really cool opportunity for you to ask me questions that, very frankly, most employers are never going to share above and beyond the pat answers. You weren't quite right for the position. You came in second. We decided not to fill the role. We hired internally. All those great things that they say, which may or may not be true, but I can share with you in a majority of cases they're not true, because they feel very uncomfortable in saying to you, you blew it, all right? So this is going to give you an opportunity over the course of the next hour to interact at every single point that I cover something that you really have a question or a comment about, because I can assure you that you are not the only person in this room who has a question or a comment about it. So anything that you're really courageous enough to share with the group, it's going to be really appreciated by them, because they're going to nod knowingly that this is not the first time that they've heard this or felt that, okay? As I was coming here, I stopped in my ceremonious trip to the ladies' room, and there was two women going in who are now participants over there, screaming and laughing in the confines of the ladies' room about somebody telling their story at the job fair, all right? So that's what's going on. There is a huge disconnect between what an employer is thinking and feeling and what a candidate is thinking and feeling. And honestly, it's the Grand Canyon, and it's only getting bigger. So what I hope to dispel here today for you is the myths that you came into this with, and believing that you were prepared to go over and speak to those individuals, versus the knowledge you're going to be leaving with. That's real-time information. So any time that an employer shares a profound word of wisdom or a secret, we change the names and identities and we share them with you, all right? So this presentation that I'm about to go over with you is very, very much an example of the tidbits that are so important for not only you to make a good career decision on your own behalf, but really strengthen the way in which to communicate with the employer in a way that makes you so effective that you get to decide what position you're seeking versus them deciding for you. Okay? So we're gonna get started with an interviewing strategy seminar, which normally when you see anything that's remotely related to interview strategies, they'll say, you know, hey, how about you look good when you go on an interview? How about your cell phone doesn't ring? You know what, I'm not going to share any of that with you, because I'm going to assume that you're bright enough not to do what a candidate did 6 months ago when she went into a final interview and decided to bring her big blue bubble gum with her, and blew that big blue bubblegum bubble while meeting the president of an organization, and this big blue bubble popped and was on her very adorable face. And when he shared that with me, I said there's no way that she brought the big blue bubblegum into the interview. But apparently she was very nervous, and one of the remedies for that was this big blue bubblegum. Well, she didn't get the position. But I'm going to leave those type of tidbits out, because again, I'm going to go under the assumption that you're smart enough to know that what is interview decorum is interview decorum. So I'm hoping that we're going to get a little deeper than that. So when we go to the next slide, featuring your tour guide, Joan Gracie, all right? Anybody who knows me knows I would never wear that hat because it did not match the dress I was wearing, but Amanda took liberties in Photoshop world and gave me the official tour guide hat, all right? So the question becomes, first and foremost, do you know where you're going? This is a super, super, super important question, because I don't mean do you know where you're going today? I don't mean, did you know how to get here? I don't mean, do you know who you're speaking to? All right? The number one reason why companies eliminate candidates from consideration is because they do not have a plan. Any type of plan, all right? They have a cell phone plan, they have a vacation plan. If you were my dad, you had a burial plan many, many years before my poor dad passed, but they do not have a career plan. So when they meet with an employer says, tell me about yourself, and they proceed with this War and Peace long story of who they are. What they don't understand is what an employer is saying is, where are you going? What are your plans, all right? Because I, as a hiring manager, I, as an owner of a company, have got to have a plan. I can't just make things up as I go along. And what people do is they use this whole job search, or they use this whole job fair as an opportunity to kind of figure out what their plan is. This is not a planning opportunity. You should already have a good strategy in place before you come here. I just did a job fair for one of our clients, and for those of you who are familiar with Dinosaur Barbecue, they are a great organization that's going to be coming to Buffalo shortly. And it's a real cult-like atmosphere, and people who want to work there are from entry to executive levels. But we only place managers there, and they really, really make a handsome living. So they asked me to do a job fair for them in Albany. And I spoke to 526 people over the course of a small window. I needed barbecue. I mean, I should have been rewarded in some way, shape, or form. Of the 526 people that I spoke to, most of the people came up to the booth because they like barbecue. Most of them had eaten there. Most of them wanted to know how they got the t-shirts, how did I get the barbecue sauce. Very, very few people came up and said anything remotely interesting that would make me want to say to them, can we have a meeting that's in more depth than you just coming up to the booth? Of those 526 people, we actually asked 11 people to come back and speak to us in more depth. So as I'm speaking to candidates every day and they're sharing with me about how there's all this competition out there, there might be a lot of people looking for work, but I can tell you from a job search standpoint, there's not a lot of people prepared to look for work in this new normal economy. And that's a very, very different thing. So before you get started, you have got to know, where are you going? What is your plan? Because if your plan is to get a job, I can tell you they don't understand that plan, all right? If your plan is to set forth a series of steps so that you get to be a better you, they're very interested in that plan. They're very interested in that story. But with the amount it costs to actually train a person today and bring a new individual on board, they are not going to do that flights of fancy. They want to make sure that you're prepared for the rigors of whatever that particular position is, all right? So I start here because a minority of people are actually prepared to look for a new position. Do you know where you're going? You have to ask yourself that question. What are your plans? Next slide. Your mission statement or objective really highlights what your professional goals are. So if you're in an administrative role, and let's just say that you've had big company experience, what I can say to you is that small companies are contributing about 100% to all the new job growth that's out there. So if you come from a large organization and you think that large companies mean big opportunities, you need to kind of do more research, because it's actually small business that is not only moving Western New York, but moving New York State, moving the country, moving the world. So you need to better understand the rigors of what a small business looks like in order for you to connect with employers in a way. So when we look at this mission statement, you guys, you have to have prepared what your goal is right in your mission statement and right in your objective. If I see one more person's resume that says, I am looking for a growth company because I'm growing and I'd like to grow with them, and wouldn't you like me to grow, and we can all grow together. All right? It is a way to say I have no direction, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know why I'm doing it, but some resume writer or something that I read online said that that was a really, really cool mission statement or objective or profile. What people are looking for here, what employers are looking for here is, what is your goal? Do you know where you're going? So you have to very clearly state, administrative professional seeks to leverage background in this way, or seeks to find an opportunity that is A, B, and C. All right? If you have been in an industry that is dying, bury it, say goodbye to it, move on. I cannot tell you how many people come to me and say, I've been downsized from pharmaceutical 6 times. And what I say to them is the same thing I said to my son when he moved it like this, and it was bothering him. Don't move it like that. Just don't do this. Don't do this. Why in the world would you keep on taking a same position with a different company, thinking that the results were going to change? What's the definition of insanity? All right? And expecting different results, all right? So if you make yourself a specialist in an area or an industry because you think that's all you know, then an employer is going to believe that also. So you have to make sure that as you're identifying what your career pathway is, that you're moving in a direction where there's actually positions, where there's actual growth. My heart breaks through the students who come in who have communications degree and psychology degrees and history degrees and all these great general degrees that says, I don't know where I'm going, but I knew it was 4 years of not worrying about it. How does that relate to a career opportunity? How does that relate to a career path? And if you're looking to stay within this Western New York community, you have to look at what's happening here, and you have to embrace it. I had a woman who came in, graduated from Ithaca College with a degree in Mandarin. Okay, well, you know what? That's a fabulous degree. I don't think she's using it at Spot Coffee as we speak. If you're gonna get a degree in Mandarin from a great school, you need to be aware that you probably can use it in Washington, New York, or Boston, or some other major metropolitan city. But why do we build these businesses of us and really don't have a buyer who's interested in it? No upstanding business would be created, devised, identified if there wasn't a patron to purchase it. So you have to ask yourself, are you in a good business? Have you developed a good business model for yourself? And if you haven't, like all upstanding business owners, you've got to realize your mistake, learn from it, and see where you can take your skills and leverage it in a new area. Do not stay out of business. And I see so many people say that to me, Joan, that's all I know. That's not true. Next slide. So the question becomes, do you know how to get there? This is all great. I've effectively admitted I'm incredibly confused. I have no idea how to build a career path today. I admit I am an alcoholic. What is the 10-step process? All right, I'm ready. All right. So we're going to talk about how do you get there? How do you go from the career uninformed to the career informed? Next slide, Amanda. You need fame. You need fame because you want to live forever. Remember that? It's pretty bad. All right. You need a focused plan, a lot more exposure, make it work, and execute it. You need fame. You need a plan. How do you start your job search? How does it begin? What's the first thing you do? So I'll admit it. I'm looking for a job, what do I do? I'm gonna get somebody to speak here. It's a quiet group, quiet group. Write a resume. What's the first thing you do? Okay, yes, sir. I'm sorry?
Talk to friends, network,
You talk to friends and network. Why do you do that?
because they can give you leads, they know what's going on.
Okay,
Just go
all
involved
right,
in the business you were in.
okay, very good. It's okay, I love this one. You're swimming, thank you. That's nice little moving around. All right, so basically, the majority of people, before they do anything, is they get a resume together. That's step one, all right? And that is absolutely, positively the worst thing you can do when we're putting together a focus plan. Your first part of your plan is, how do I make myself a better me? I need to understand that this is where I am, and how do I get to that next position? See, because we're so busy thinking about, I need a job. Yeah, that's great for you to say, I need a job. I've got this affection for eating, Naimo's a bitch, all this stuff is going on. All right? But without this, what happens is people keep on doing the same thing over and over and over again. And what's that the definition of? Insanity. All right? So if you start with a plan and say, okay, wait a minute, I need to do an inventory of my business. Before I do anything, I need to do an inventory. Before I talk to a friend, before I do anything, I need to do an inventory of what's going on with me. And I have to see, as this business sits, how much is it worth in the open market? Not what I think, not that I put all this remodeling into my house and how come I can't sell it for that because I live on a crummy street. Not what my opinion is, but what are the facts, all right? After every military mission, what they do is they come back and they do recognizance. What happens? Let's analyze what we went through. How can we improve? But what we do, as soon as we lose a job, we freak out and we're like, as soon as we graduate, we gotta get to work, there is no plan. That doesn't work. And it doesn't work today, especially if you're looking to build a great business or great career. So as you're doing your inventory, do something really, really minimal. Go to Indeed.com and do a keyword search, okay? And just put in a keyword. You're not looking for a job. All you're doing right now is identifying the worth of your business. You want to get a feel for the market. What do the buyers look like? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? So you go to, like this young man who I was working with last year, who just got his master's degree in urban planning. And after he got his undergrad in urban planning, the school kindly shared with him that there was no jobs, but if he stayed another 2 years, maybe the landscape would look better. So now he successfully has 2 more years of student loans, and when we put in the word urban planning into Indeed, 3 jobs came up. When we opened it up to the state, more jobs came up, but none of them were for entry level. So what he had done was he had built a business model, but the only problem was nobody was going to pay him for his skills. All right? So as you're looking at a variety of keywords, that's what's so cool about Indeed. You can put in special events, you can put in banking, you can put in First Niagara, you can put in the University of Buffalo, you can put in whatever you want. And in the corner, you're gonna see the amount of jobs that exist in that sector. And there is where your truth lies. Because when we went to urban planning and we saw 3 jobs in the corner, he was either a genius or a fool. Genius because the market hadn't quite caught up to him, or a fool because he just paid for another 2 years of education, hadn't gotten his first student loan bill, and there was no jobs for him. And unfortunately in this case, he fell into the fool category. Before you decide to do with the business of you, take the time to see what your worth on the market is. Take the time to see how your skills relate. Take the time to read what it is that they're saying. You know, I'll say, you know, what are they looking for? Oh my gosh, they're looking for multitasking. They're looking for fast pace. They're looking for personality. Why do you think they're looking for it? Because you think everybody has it? Or does everybody ignore it and just gleam over it? So they don't really talk about it as part of their ingredients as they're describing themselves. Employers feel that candidates don't listen. They don't understand what's going on in their world. So they are incredibly frustrated with the candidates today. A majority of positions for the first time in the 28 years that I've been recruiting are staying so far underground that unless you know somebody, you would have no idea that that company was even looking for somebody. All the job boards together, which is now our new newspaper, if you will. Let's throw a guess out there how successful the jobs boards are to help you secure a new position. Let's throw a number out, because I know you guys love to talk and you're so engaged and you're just like, oh, shut up already. Shut up, everyone.
1%.
Yes. 1%? 2%?
I got a job for you.
10%.
10%. The Wall Street Journal did a in-depth analysis in 2011, so let's say maybe 2012 makes it a little brighter. All the job boards together are less than 5% successful. So if we're looking at that as a vehicle to help us secure a new role, we got a 95% chance that our badass is gonna be staying home. We gotta be thinking about a focused plan. We need to be thinking about a lot more exposure. And we need to have a plan that has goals every single week. I have never seen busier people than the unemployed. Never. Never. It takes them, in our agency, the longest time to get back to us. It takes them the most time to review an opportunity and give us feedback. All these things, and we're like, what are they doing exactly? All right? Busy breeds busy, because the employed people get right back to us, are very, very quick with their responses, but what's happened? Why are the unemployed slower to react? Why are the unemployed taking more time? What's going on?
People don't think there's jobs out there.
So we basically have gone through a very, very normal set of requirements. We've gone to college, and then the next step is we should be getting a job. Uh-oh, we have no plan. What happened? We work really hard and we lose our job, and we're like, well, this wasn't supposed to happen. We work really hard and the company goes out of business. We work really hard and we get downsized. So all of this is a direct contradiction to what we believe. So if we believe that there's no jobs out there, what's going to happen? There are no jobs out there. In the meantime, I just did an engineering job search, and we went through 1,246 people to represent 2. You need fame, you guys, and you have to have a plan, and it has to be executed, and it has to have goals, and you have to do a lot more than just expect posting your resume on a job board is going to get you the type of exposure that you need. You need to be your best public relations advertising ever. That's where success lies today. Next slide, Amanda. You need to, as the president of your company, do an org chart. I'm telling you, these things work. Make yourself the president, call it whatever you want, like Donald Trump, who deals with these apprentices that have about 5,000 years of experience. He put a whole new meaning to the word apprentice. Make up a name, whatever you need to do, but as the president of your company, you need to start looking and saying, where can I take my skills? What is my plan here? Can I take my skills in medical because it's a growth arena? Can I take my skills in the university sector because it's growing? Niche manufacturing because it's growing? Where can I leverage my best assets? Who's going to be the best partner that makes me a better you? Not same old, a better you. And write this down so you have an idea as to exactly where you're going to be focusing your job search. So when you go over and speak to those people, you've already identified that they have the opportunity to make you a better you. Otherwise, don't go see them, because they're not going to figure out your strategy. You need to figure out your strategy. And they laugh about you in the bathroom if you don't, by the by. So are you prepared with the research? What we find is when people lose their job, less than 1% of the population actually does the research. So all this competition, all these people that you're talking about that are out there and they're just so competitive, it could not be further from the truth. All right, I had an employer who came in to say hello to me. I said, how are you doing here? She said, we haven't identified one person yet we're interested in. Oh my God, please teach them. Next slide. We talked about Indeed. Do you understand the culture? Along with the belief that there's no jobs out there, we still believe that that employer is the Almighty and that we are just mere pagans who are fortunate enough to be in their midst. And we go to them with all the discouragement and doubt and uncomfortability that we can muster to present ourselves. They hate looking for people. They dread it. They are as uncomfortable about the job search process as you are, all right? So you have to understand what an employer is thinking and feeling today. When I say do the research and you're saying, you know what, I talk to your friends, I talk to my friends, getting leads. Why don't you talk to your friends and say, what's going on with an employer? How are they thinking? How are they feeling? What do I need to say in order to connect with them? Why don't you put yourself in their seat and then listen to your story and have an honest conversation with yourself to see if you're remotely interested in what it is you've got to say. You have got to spend time understanding them. You have to spend time in their space because an interview is only a good interview when it leaves being an interview and you and I are having a conversation. I had a woman who came to me and knew that I was doing a lot of career counseling and human capital consulting and was very, very interested in being part of my employment agency. Very sharp, came in, I said, absolutely, I'm interested in this business opportunity. I gave her a series of assignments that I needed her to complete. Very excited, she came back a month later, sat down, and I was looking for a briefcase, an American Tourister, a bag, Wegmans, recycled, something. And she sat down and said, you know what, I need you to give me a bunch of information. And I said to her, short of me not going to bed at night, I have no time to help you identify why my company is right for me, right for you. You had to understand who I was as a person and come back to me with the assignment that I had given you. Share with me why this partnership makes sense so that we can truly see if we can move this business forward. But at the end of the day, she was looking for me to take care of her, and at the end of the day, I'm still raising my husband. I have no desire to take care of another person in my life. You have to understand what an employer is thinking and feeling. And without that understanding, you will never make that connection that makes you effective. Any questions about that, you guys? Any comments, any stories? We love horror stories. Anything that you can relate to or share with the group that could be of benefit. So you guys all perfect? You got it all going on? Is that what's going on? Huh? Huh? Nothing? We're good? All right. So if you believe that there's no good jobs out there, what do we need to do? We need to change the way we think about things. We have to be prepared to understand that we have a set of beliefs and it's right here on that printing press, the front of our brain. And when I ask you a question, you're going to go to that automatic file cabinet and it's going to say, I don't know. I'm not comfortable. Here's the answer. This is what's going on. You have to make sure that you start to challenge your mind in such a way that makes you start to think differently. because there's a lot of great job opportunities out there. Number one problem that an employer is listing is finding impact performers to help them move their company. When asked on a national survey, what would you change, the economy or good people? 90-some% of the employers say, I would much rather find a good person, because with good people, the economy can stay the economy. I need good people. So how is it that we have this room full of individuals, we have a room full of employers, and they're not connected? What's going on there?
No communication.
And are you really building a business of you that is what they want? You know, I had a machinist that, you know, told me all these great things about being a machinist, but he didn't want to work on a computer-aided machine. Well, forgive me that they're cell phones. The fact of the matter is technology has changed every single facet of the work we do. You need to embrace it. There are tons of free training at Buffalo One Stop. There's all these great opportunities for you to get whatever skills you need, but you need to get them. That is really, really important, that you bring your skills up to the place where you need it. And you need to start thinking differently. I can't tell you how important that is, because if you get into this negative, self-fulfilling prophecy, and you represent yourself like that, employers do not want a reality TV show. That might be great for the Kardashians, it's not great for the job search process. They don't want drama, all right? So if you look at why you're uncomfortable with the job search process above and beyond just your normal, because this is what I believe in my brain scenario, what you have to understand is this big fat muscle is not going to support this unemployment. It hates it. It hates being unemployed. The brain loves knowing what's coming around the corner. So when you lose a position, or you start the job search process from college, your brain's like, what did you do? What? And it proceeds to freak out and shoot all those wonderful chemicals throughout your body so that you go right into freak out mode. You cannot make your best decision or any decisions in that mode. Yes?
I have a question.
Yes, go for it.
Well, I'm going to stand up because I can't.
Oh, all right, love it.
With this economy, and people are saying that there's no good jobs out there, how do you balance it with, like, should I just settle for a job and hope that it's okay? Or do you wait for this perfect job?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because no job's perfect. And for me, I graduated college in 2011, and I've gone through 5 different jobs in that period of time. They've all been learning experiences. But how do you balance the two? That yes, it's great that there's a lot of great jobs out there, but it's like, where are they, and like, how do you balance it?
Okay,
Does that make
but
sense?
again, I mean, first, everything was so wonderful about today is all the information is right at your fingertips, because any research on the internet, small business is growing in America today. Okay, so, you know, Rich Products is wonderful, you know, General Motors is great, you know, Dunlop, great. But the fact of the matter is, it's really 500 or less employees that's growing America today. So that's just the reality. It's 100% of the job growth is in that sector. All right? So when you're looking at what's growing, you can find a myriad of tools and resources just by the interview. Growth companies in Western New York, looking at Business First, top growing companies, looking at the people that are making the book of lists. Reading the newspaper every day pretty much signifies what are growing arenas in Western New York. If you just Google career clusters, the Department of Labor across the United States has identified for the next 15 to 20 years what the hottest occupations are going to be. So if you just look at the career clusters, right there, they absolutely relate to the Western New York community. So it goes back to where I started. What's your plan? Your plan is you need to do the research first. Unfortunately, education does not really help you figure out how to develop a career. All right, they give you supposedly the brain wavelength to at least get out into the world, but you don't know how to begin. So if you think about, I'm just opening a business. And if I'm just opening a business, I would love to be Starbucks, but I'm probably gonna have to be Judy's Coffee. And nobody doesn't, they're not aware of me. You know, I don't have the exposure, I don't have money for advertising. But you need to start at a beginning, all right? So any position that you take should be some type of position that is the baseline to get you into an area that you can grow in. So let's just say you had a marketing interest, and it's tough to get a marketing job right out of college. What would you do? Your strategy would be to try to go into a, let's say, a bank, because the banking community is growing. Even if you couldn't start in the marketing department, starting in some type of role in the banking community, and when they post out marketing positions, you try to grow internally to get that marketing experience. See, it's all about setting the baseline, but instead, those 5 jobs that you've taken, that's a huge detriment to you trying to build a business. It is though, because you would never have Judy's Coffee, Mari's Sushi, you know, Jeannie's Shoe Store. I mean, you could never be in all those different business models. So you have to decide, you know, what is the beginning of your business and how do you grow it, all right? So do you take a job for any job? That's not a plan, all right? Would you ever get on a plane not knowing what your destination is? You know, and I'm just going, I brought my bathing suit, God, I hope it's warm. I mean, like, you would never do that. You would absolutely never do that. But we do that with the most valuable thing we own, ourselves. And then we don't understand why we don't get to the next level. Look at yourself like a business and say, what do I need to do to begin with? And it doesn't matter. This works for 16 to 61. Energy is not chronological. You know, people say that to me all the time, do you think my age hurts me? Are you dead and somebody forgot to bury you? Yes, your age hurts you. But if you show the ability to represent yourself in an energized and connected way, it doesn't. But if you're like, you know, yeah, my company changed and it's horrible and they were mean to me and there was like young people they brought in, they had these new ideas and it was all really scary, you got a problem. Because that's the world in which we live today. This is the first time in history that all the generations are working together. First time in history. And this younger generation is a very, very different generation from the older generation. Very different. All right, so that sets up a whole other host of problems. So that's a great question, yes?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think the question also centers around desperation. What if really, you're done with unemployment, you really need to find something now, you can't wait.
I agree, and that's why I love it when you're not at desperate, because what desperate does is desperate is. Like, we have people that are on unemployment, they have no idea that there's job training money. Like, I don't know how that happens, but they have no idea that there's job training money. The candidates don't know that there's job training money, and the companies don't know that there's job training money. I can't tell you how many people we've put back to work with this elusive job training money. We just had a gentleman unemployed a year, all right? His skills had completely gone out of business. He had garnered new skills online, and we placed him with a company that we got them $7,000 worth of training money. They would have never hired this guy without it. And he's doing amazing, all right? So what you want to do is, if you were truly in business, if you truly believed you were an entrepreneur, you would do whatever it took to stay in business. All right, now you're really out of business. I mean, they have closed it, your place is burned to the ground. What do you do? All right, you then have no other choice but to take a position, but it doesn't change the fact that you need a career plan. Okay, but you have to be careful, because when you go out, employers are freaked out by desperation. The average employer hasn't looked for a position in 20 years, so he doesn't get you. All right, so when you're telling him the way things are, he's thinking, yeah, lazy. Yeah, right. I can't believe, well, I can't find people. Why? What do you mean? What does she mean she can't find a job? What are you kidding? All right, they don't understand that. All right, so that's why if you take a position to take a position, you have to make sure that you do the self-analysis and try to get yourself back on track, moving into an area that's growing. Because I can't even tell you the free training that's out there. I mean, when Erie County Medical Center came on my career radio show, They were telling me about free training programs that they were offering at the hospital because they couldn't find people. So they were giving them the education that they needed for hospital-related positions. You know, again, we have to ask ourselves, the resources are out there, but are we even tapping into them? Because we're putting our resume online and we think it's gonna happen. You need fame. It doesn't happen like that. You need fame. So I understand, I get it, all right? But take a position, but don't ever start not going back to getting yourself back on track. You can. You absolutely can. Okay? Any other questions? All right, great stuff, thank you. Yep. Temporary work, thank you, Amanda. That's the other thing now. Have you done anything from a temporary work standpoint? What's your background?
To me?
Yes,
Oh.
we're back to you. It's all about you today, apparently. Yep.
I worked 12 years for airline industry, flight attendant.
Okay. Specialty. And then you're trying to get into what type of position?
Well, I started my own travel agency called Savvy Voyage International Travel Management. So I'm in the thinking process of what you're saying. I want to be the president of my own company. However, I need to get the skill level, and I want to take the skill level from when I was doing the public analysis to actually doing public speaking.
Okay. All right, and again, you just have to figure out how that fits into your both your short and long-term planning. So that's important. So basically what we're talking about here, you guys, and anybody who wants a copy of this slideshow, you can just get with Amanda and she'll be happy to send this over to you. But you have to transition from fear to empowered confidence, and we're hoping that this knowledge allows you the opportunity to do that. You have to connect your history and future goals with a strategy. It's not, you just can't go out and look for a position. Unfortunately, that's not a strategy. Acknowledge your real strengths and weaknesses. Align your career strategy with that of an employer. So we talked about, just briefly, about the employers. Okay, Amanda. So we have to really give thought to, as we're getting out there, why are they asking the questions that they're asking? People say to me all the time, how should I answer this question? And what I say to them is, why are they asking it? Well, I don't know. It's very difficult for you to answer a question if you don't know why somebody is asking you. You have to get to the root of why employers are asking the questions that they're asking, because it's very difficult for you to give an answer without that understanding. Why? Why are there behavioral-based interviews versus, can you do this? Yes, I can, which is what it was back in my day. Do you have this experience? Yes, I can. Can you do this? Yes. Do you like people? Of course I do. What about small puppies? Love them, have 4. All right, it's one of those things where now they say, tell me about a time when. Because the average person can't answer that question. The average person can't even tell their story, because after all, I would be bragging and speaking inappropriately. So how am I supposed to know about you if you're not even comfortable with you? Sign me the heck up for that person. Think about a bad sales experience you had where they were selling you something that meant something to you and you walked out of that establishment saying, are you kidding? Are you even kidding me that they have that person represent this product line? That's how a majority of people interview. Think about that. So we talked about the language and really getting to better understand, and I'll tell you, people who are hiring managers are more than happy to help you. They are more than happy. I can't tell you how many people have contacted me and said, Joan, I'd love to be in recruiting. Can I buy you a cup of coffee? I say, I don't drink coffee. They said, well, what do you drink? You have to drink something. I say, I drink tea. They said, okay. I say, single cream, double sugars, and we chat. And the truth of the matter is, it gives them an opportunity to learn more about the position, the ups and the downs, before they actually go on an interview for my particular occupational choice. Are we connecting with people that can bridge this communication gap of saying, what are your frustrations? What are you thinking and feeling? Do you know how many times somebody has taken somebody out for coffee and it ended up being a job for them? I can't even tell you how many times that's happened. Because it's such a unique person that would even do something remotely different to look for a role. You know, I hear, oh Mike, you don't even begin to know how many resumes I sent out. Yes, I do. I own an employment agency, I can guess pretty accurately. But what have you done for fame? What have you done to set yourself apart that says, here's my plan, and this is why I'm connecting with you? That's a very, very different set of circumstances. So do you speak the language? You have to ask yourself that. So you have to show you are in alignment with their culture and mission, connect who you are with their specific problem. They have a problem. It's in the ad. They told you what they wanted. You tell your story. How does your story and their problem connect? That is crucial. Yes?
When you were saying about companies hiring managers, does it really matter what you manage, or like a manager is a manager?
It depends, though. It depends on what the technology are and where you are in your business model. So let's just say that you've been in restaurant management, now you want to move into a different type of management. You would want to identify companies who love restaurant managers. Banking actually loves restaurant managers. Manufacturing loves restaurant managers. Why? Fast pace, constant change, crazy. Terrible customers, great customers. So there's a lot of skills that come from that experience for your business that can be transferred into new areas. You couldn't be a scientist, you couldn't be a brain surgeon. But again, if it's a closely related step out, then it helps you get to the next level of your business evolvement, and then you continue to grow. So like restaurant or service manager is a great place to get a start, but the rigors and demands of the hours and everything like that tend to be, you know, short-lived, and then you move on to a next level. So it has to make strategic sense for you, and it has to make strategic sense for the employer, okay? Utilize positive past behaviors to dictate future response. I'm telling you, those 5 jobs you're gonna need to explain. Okay, I mean, I don't get to have 5 businesses. I don't get to make, as a business owner, how well do you run your business? I'm gonna be looking at. And see, people don't connect with that all the time. I had a gentleman, his name was Tim, and he called his background Timothy. So he'd always be like, well, Timothy really didn't like his boss. Timothy was like, and I told him, but Timothy was like so he finally told him exactly what he thought. And I'm like, Tim, that's you. You understand that, right? There's no tax in your shoes, you weren't abused as a child. That is you. But he always disassociated himself from anything that he remotely did inappropriate for his job search, okay? Inappropriate for his career. An employer looks at you and says, what did you do for the most valuable thing you owned? And you need to run that well. And they don't understand flights of fancy. They don't understand trips to Europe. They don't understand these things that they consider an oddity, all right? They want to understand good business, solid decisions. So with you having 5 jobs, you've got to spin that in a way to say, I purposely took a variety of positions.
Oh yes, I spin it into
Okay.
very high.
It is a way to better educate myself about the options I had once I really committed. You have got to spin that in such a way that connects with them.
I've gone to interviews and people are like, oh my God, you've spun that like.
Yeah. The difference is, are you closing them? So that's a different, yes, go ahead.
Like, she had 5, but I have some college with only had 1 job.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work at Dunkin', and I started as a crew member, but I worked myself up to a manager. I worked for the company for 6 years, and then once they got rebought over, I got pushed out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing maybe because of who they wanted to have,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't give me a chance to show who I was as a manager.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how do I make it? Is that a good thing to not?
You don't care what it is. You don't care what it is. Because at the end of the day, they got 2 really impactful words, Dunkin' Donuts, in their corner, and you don't. You don't care about your partner. okay? See, that's the thing, we're like so emotional, we're not married to these people.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not our dog. I mean, it isn't, you know, this whole love fest of feelings and everything like that, I hate that. Like, you know, people come into me, not interested, all right? I've got a business to run, all right? You have the business of you. So if your partner made a decision to separate from you,
Yes.
okay, that's cool, God bless them.
But is that a good thing to present to the employee?
You have to always tell the truth about your business. You always have to tell the truth. So you say, when the company was purchased, I was downsized, all right? So what I'm looking to do now is to take this great experience and move it to the next level. That's why I'm so interested in Bob Evans, because I'd love to be part of a structured management training program, more of a family dining atmosphere. You have to have a strategy. But see, what people do is they harp on this partner all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we have the whole crying fest about that, we've got to bury it, we've got to do this, we've got to go through months of mourning. You know, that's the way people treat a job loss. I have just buried my significant other and you're asking me to date again. That's so inappropriate. This is business. And the more that we can really, really get realistic about business and don't let our partner stopping us from becoming a better you, the better we're going to be. By the year 2020, they're saying that every single person is going to be an independent contractor. And what they mean by that is you better have some specialty that you're incredibly good at and known for. Because this whole generalist, like I can do this and I can do that and all, you know, Mary Poppins and lollipops, you will be unemployed. So you better figure out what your niche is, what your specialty is, and then how does it facilitate solving a problem for someone. So the more that we embrace this, don't let their decision affect you. Okay? The only thing that you can affect is what you do with it. God bless, see you later. I had a great track record. I ran a good business. I did my inventory. I've got a lot of things to offer. Move on.
So should I go and better myself as to getting out in the market, or should I go look for another manager job?
Another manager job, absolutely, because you were a manager. You have every right to be another manager. Absolutely. Don't diminish your brand because somebody said they don't want it anymore. See ya. You know, you look at the great inventors, look at Dyson, you know, the guy had maxed out every single one of his credit cards, all right? He had, 500 applications for that vacuum, all right? But at the end of the day, he didn't look and say, well, you know, my feelings are really hurt because this woman vacuumed it, she couldn't pick up an apple, so I figured, well, I would just quit. I mean, the great entrepreneurs don't know no. That just means like I need to put this off for another 3 days and figure out how to pay for the next level of innovation. How do we innovate for ourselves? How do we move ourselves to that next level? You have to start looking at it. These people are not your parents. They're not going to take care of you. It is up to us to take care of ourselves. All right, so this information, I mean, again, Amanda would be happy to send it to you. I can't tell you how important it is. Go ahead, Amanda. How are we on time? Okay. So, telling your story, you guys, you have got to be looking at getting a nice sequential story in place to represent yourself that includes what we talked about today. All right? When you are talking about yourself, introduce yourself. If you can have a tagline with your introduction, just do it, if you will. Something that makes you stick out individually. So if you say, you know what, tell me about yourself. You know what, I'm a problem solver. Let me tell you what I mean by that. I've worked in fast-paced, ever-changing business cultures. All right, this is what I did. All right, your story cannot be about your Eagle Scout badges, that you have your mother as a reference. These are things we see all the time, all right? This has got to be an introduction, an overview of what your background is, just an overview. You do not drive down into details when you are telling your story. Run it like you would a business. So I'm a career reformist. I get you to think about your future in a completely different way than you have in your past. I've been a direct hire recruiter for 28 years, and it's provided me the opportunity to give you real-time information about what it takes to build a career today. That's the same way. And then people are going to ask me more specific questions, but what we do is when we tell our stories, we list a series of tasks. Well, I worked at Motorola from 1967 to 1968. It was the summer. I was incredibly hot, and you're like, the number 2 reason why people literally get rid of candidates is because of these stories, these long answers to questions that have nothing to do with the question, or they don't even remember the question they asked you. I just had a person for a great role, coached her, 7 days, gave her my online course, and as soon, word vomit. She's in front of the executive director, and he's like, I don't know what I asked her. But it went long, and it went sad, and it went happy, and now I'm not interested. Super Bowl commercial. That's how you gotta think. How do you impact them within a short period of time? Connect with them in such a way that resonates with them, not war and peace.